Let's start with the big underlying question. Donald Trump has kind of shaken the world order with his denial of climate change, or at least his decision to quit the Paris Accord, with his denial of the Iran deal, the decision to get out of that, with the trade war that he seems to be starting now. Is this making a world a more dangerous place?
Absolutely, and more uncertain. He's a fully fledged American isolationist. And this is a clear disruption from what was seen, created by President Truman immediately after the Second World War. And all presidents, I would say, till President George W. Bush, adhered to that principle that we should have a rules-based world order led by the U.S., and this is exactly what is at stake now.
Now, one of the rules that others haven't been following even before President Trump came to office was a pledge they made to spend 2% of their GDP on defense. Since we're sitting in Germany, I thought I'd bring this up. I've got a great chart showing what the U.S. spends in purple here, much more than 3% of their GDP. Germany is barely able to eke out 1.2% of spending. They don't have any working subs. None of their planes can fly NATO missions. They're missing 20,000 officers. I mean, they're basically not doing their fair share to defend the free world as they promised that they would. How do you feel about them, refusing to maintain, to stick to this pledge that they made?
I find it quite embarrassing that the European allies do not pay their fair share. This is also a reason why we decided in 2014 at the NATO summit that during the next decade we will, all allies, 29 today, 29 allies will all live up to the pledge to invest at least 2%. And the good news is many countries are now working and walking in the right direction. I think by the end of this year, 8 out of the 29 allies will live up to the 2% pledge. But having said that, it's also important to note that it's not only a question about how much money you spend, but also how you spend it. And we have, in all fairness to say, some of the European countries that do not live up to the 2% target, they are actually quite active whenever NATO requests their assistance.
For example, the United Kingdom, which is just around there,
exactly,
always pitching in to help.
And my own country, Denmark. I mean, we don't pay 2%, but each and every time when NATO requests a deployment, Denmark is ready to do it. So you also have to spend your money wisely and efficiently.
How is this going to play out, you think, when the U.S. seems to be isolating itself from the rest of NATO, the rest of the G7? Will the others band together? Will this create sort of a new world power? I mean, how do you see it playing out by, say, the end of Donald Trump's term?
Yeah, well, but I think the biggest risk is dissolution of the group of countries that has led the world since the end of the Second World War. My point is very simple. The world needs a policeman to restore international law and order. The world is on fire. Wherever you look, you have conflicts. You need a world policeman, and I don't see any other reliable candidate than the United States. But now you are lacking American global leadership, and this is why autocrats like Putin, Xi Jinping, Assad, Kim Jong-un, they have a more easy game to play than before. So the fact is, when the U.S. and the democratic world retreats, they will leave behind a vacuum, and that vacuum will be filled by the bad guys.
Let's bring Guy into this conversation. Guy?
Yeah, I've got a couple of seconds left. Mr. Rasmussen, what do you make of the President of the United States' decision to use national security as a way of restricting trade?
I'm very much concerned about that decision. I don't think it's legitimate to use national security considerations in that respect. I have noted that President Trump has said that trade wars are easy to win. I do not agree. Trade wars have no winners. They have only losers.